and welcome back. Today I have a lot to share with you guys. I have no idea how I managed to do all of the things that I did in the last week. I have no idea, but there is a lot on my plate. So if you are here for the first time, hello, my name is Lisa. I make knitting podcasts and things all related to crochet, knitting, sewing, and who knows what other things I will start to do in the future. But I mainly focus on knitting. That is the hobby that I have been spending the most time in lately. I do think that once the summer weather comes around, I'll probably spend more time sewing, but we'll have to see, as I have definitely had a very heavy knitting bug lately. I have quite a lot of things that I have finished, and I couldn't be happier. And I have them just nicely stored in this cute little crochet bag that I recently made. I shared more about this in my previous podcast, so definitely go and check that out if you are curious. But just as like something quick, these are just granny squares that I stitched together with some Lion Brand yarn. I believe it was their Pound of Love. I have been heavily trying to get rid of some acrylic scrap yarn that I have, stuff that I bought way in the beginning of me dabbling into the craft, and I have successfully done so, if I do say so myself. I guess the first thing I should start with are my finished objects. So I have my Cargill mittens finished. So these are they're pretty much just a regular, simple mitten that I think I followed the like World's Simplest Mittens or something along that line. I followed two different patterns that were very similar to that. But I was originally going to do the dip stitch all along the back. Then I realized once I got like this far that the dip stitch was actually much shorter than the stockinette. So like if I continued doing this, there would have not been enough fabric comparatively to the front. So I just decided to like cut it off here. So I just have this tiny little spot of the dip stitch, but I still think that's fine because like it's still cute and it still has what I wanted. But these are the finished outcome. My husband always laughs, and I do too, because I always make my thumbs like unproportionally small, and I think you can see it here. The pattern that I was following was not going to work very well for the gauge that I had, so I kind of just made it up as I went, but I had to end up decreasing here, which is why it's a little bit weird there. And I didn't end up picking up stitches along this where you're supposed to when you start knitting the thumb. I think if I did pick up stitches, the thumb would not look so abnormally small. But anyway, they are done, and this was made with my leftover yarn from my Cargill cowl, which is by Rebecca Clow. It's got that very famous dip stitch that's very popular right now. And that's what these were based off of. And this is Big Twist Spice in the color Rust. And I had gotten this way back in like 2021, I think, during like Black Friday. And I had gotten it to knit a cardigan, which I did finish, but I have no idea where it went. If you've been watching the podcast, you know that that's like on my list of things that I really want to find that I just haven't found the time to because I'm too busy knitting, I guess. But we are going to Arizona this weekend, so I'm gonna have to go through my backpack. Maybe we will find it, and maybe I will leave it home so I don't lose it. But this is just 100% acrylic, and it's supposed to be like a faux mohair, but this yarn is awful to knit with. I hate it. It's so sticky. It's not very nice if you're trying to frog, and it's very squeaky like any type of plasticky yarn would feel, but like it works. It's not irritating. I just do not find it very pleasurable knitting with this. These I knit 2 at a time, and I really enjoyed it. I was able to finish them literally at the same time, so that was cool. The yarn management was not fun, but I did see a comment recently of like a button trick to help manage yarn when knitting 2 at a time. So I might have to go and review that and see if that works for me, because if that helps me not tangle up my yarn, I would love that. But I only briefly saw it this morning. And another thing about these is they are just got a slight little rolled edge. I just did a small little rolled edge on them. And yeah, so these are, I think, the second pair of mittens I've ever made. The first pair I've ever knit. The first pair that I actually made were crocheted, and it was like a mosaic crochet. And I think I followed like, I think it was like Crochet by MJ, or like MJ Off the Hook or something. I don't remember, but it was really cool. And I gave those to my sister, but I don't know if she wears them or not. The same issue with the thumb being too small. But there is my first finished object, and I am very happy with them. So hopefully I don't have to wear them too much, because I really want it to be warmer weather here, but Wisconsin doesn't seem like it's on that page anytime soon. So we will see. The next thing that I have finished is, I guess technically it would be this. Not this, this. So I made this cute little pom-pom hat, and it's made with some scrap yarn. Well, it wasn't really scrap because I hadn't used it yet, but it was yarn in my stash that I was not ever really going to use. The color just doesn't really, it's not really in my color palette, and I had bought 2 skeins of them. So I decided like, oh, I'll just like knit some hats and get it out of stash and then move on, because they were sitting on my shelf and I wasn't planning on knitting it. This is made in Big Twist Arcade. I don't know the colorway. I don't even know if I looked at it. But it's like a super bulky yarn. It might even just be a bulky. But it's got this really cute like cotton candy vibe. And look at this pom-pom I made. Oh my gosh, I love it. And I just did my own type of pattern. I had some inspiration from the hat that Taylor from Wool Needles Hands podcast, and she made like this really cute hat that she talked about. She didn't really like the way that the pattern was written, because the way she was slipping her stitches was different than what she thinks the knitter or the designer intended, and it wasn't specified in there. So I took some inspiration from that and just kind of did my own thing. I did not follow a pattern. I didn't even look at the pattern. I just remembered she said something about slip stitches. So I just went ahead and did this. It fits my head. It's a little bit short on the ears, like it wants to rise up. But it does fit my head, but I have a pretty small head. Like, you're probably looking at this and thinking like this is for like a 10-year-old or something, and it probably is. My head's probably the size of a 10-year-old. But I made this, and I made this in like an evening and a half. It really wasn't much time. So I still had a little bit of yarn left over even after the pom-pom, plus a whole nother skein. So I decided to make another one, but in a little bit different of a style. This one I did with like a cabling pattern, sort of, where they're all just going in one direction. I made the brim a little bit larger, and I used a size up needle than what I did in the previous one. The pom-pom is not as full as I wanted the other one, like as this one is, but it's still cute. I like that the colors in this pom-pom are more sporadic and like spread out, whereas this one they're all like in their own little pattern here, like stripes. So I decided I didn't want it to be like this one. I wanted it to be fun like this. Again, this one, I really do like this one. Like, I might keep it, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. I'm probably just gonna give them away, but I do like the pattern of this and the pom-pom. It's very cute. So I also cranked this one out in, I think between 3 evenings. I had both of these finished, and I still had a little bit of scrap yarn left. So I decided to make this cute little crochet bag, and this used up literally the rest of my yarn. and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's just a cute little bag that I crocheted in the round. So basically I made a chain, and then I did single crochets back, and then on the other loop of the chain where you don't actually crochet into, I decided to crochet into, and then just like went all the way back, and then I just continued going in a circle, and it made this cute little bag. But there is like one side where it feels like there's a little bit of a hole where I should have crocheted into. And this button is very tight because I didn't actually make a buttonhole. I just picked one of the things. And there is the inside. And here's the strap. I just sewed, I literally made a chain, and then I did like 2 single crochets, just a line of them, and then on the ends I used the end to like sew it to the bag. So that's what this is. And yeah, it's just a cute little purse. I don't know, I feel like if I had a little sister to give this to, I would, but all my sisters now are growing up, and I think the youngest is like gonna be a sophomore in high school, so can't really give it to her. But I think like this would be just such a cute little bag for like a little 6-year-old or something, a little 5-year-old, even like I don't know, just a little girl, right? Isn't that cute? Anyway, so that is what I did with this, and it was, again, Big Twist Arcade. Finally got it out of my stash. I was very happy about it. These were very quick, and this too was also very quick. I think I I think I crocheted it in like 3 hours, and I did it while my husband, he doesn't take a 3-hour haircut. I started it before and then like continued doing it while he was at his haircut, which took like 20 minutes. But I got out of the house and I crocheted in the car. And yeah, so this is this cute little bag. I don't know if any of you guys are well versed with crochet, but like why it tends to curl on the edges here. I just did it literally in the round down here, but then this I just knit back and forth flat. So I don't know if any of you guys know why that is. I know like with knitting, it tends to curl up on itself because of the way that the knit stitches are versus purl stitches. I believe purl stitches are knit much tighter than knit stitches, which makes it want to curl up. Or it's the other way around. I think it's the other way around. I think it's knit stitches that are knit tighter than the purl stitches, which makes it curl up on the fabric. But these, I'm not very informed on crochet quite yet. But yeah, that is my cute little, these are some finished objects. Let's see, what do I have next? The next thing that I have is, let's start with this. I made this cute little project bag, and if you watched a few podcasts back, I think it was episode 9. I could be wrong. I'll put on the screen here what episode it was. I'll also have it linked in the description. But I bought some fabric that I was going to make some more project bags with because I want project bags, but I like sewing, so I figured I can just make them myself. So I made this really cute summer-inspired project bag, and it's just got some black lining, and this time there are no seams on the inside, whereas like in the other one that I had made there were ugly seams because I fell for a video without watching it all the way through, I guess. But yeah, this is my cute little bag, and look at the lemons. I just love it. It's very summery, very springy, and I need that little pop of color right now. So what I have been keeping in this thing, oh, I also added interfacing so it's much sturdier and it holds up on itself much better than my previous ones, where they kind of just tend to shrink in and they don't have a lot of structure to them. But what I have been keeping in here is, this is Hobbies Rainbow Wool Sock Yarn. It is a 25% polyamide, 75% wool, and it is their 4-ply sock yarn. And I have been keeping a pair of socks, or a sock in this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get enough of a shorty out of this, but I recently finished this beautiful lace sock. So if you watched my previous podcast, I was intending to make the Spring Ferns sock, I believe is what it was called. It was like a $5 pattern, but I decided I'd rather get a different pattern by this designer for spring than that one specifically, but I did want to still knit some shorties with it. So I found a similar pattern. Instead of one fern going down, it has like these two sort of ferns. They're not really ferns, but like it was a similar enough pattern. There was just two of them going down the front, and I was like, that's good enough. I still like get what I really wanted out of this pattern. So I decided to knit this, and like, look how cute it is. Okay, so this is a pattern by Drops. I don't remember what it's called, and I don't have my phone on me. I will put it right here in the video what the pattern is called. I will also have it linked down below. But this was just a really sweet, simple, like spring sock in my opinion. And again, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough yarn left. I really hope I do, because I don't want to have to order more, but I also don't want just a single sock living sadly on its own. But so this was knit top down, and I don't know why the ribbing is so loose. Like, typically the socks that I made, I didn't do anything different, but this one just came out so much looser. I don't know what it is. And it's got a cute little rolled edge. I like it. It's very sweet. And then I just did one pattern of the diamond thing, whatever. I did one of these, the lace charts, and then I did the heel flap. Now in the pattern by Drops, they had just said to knit stockinette, but I knew that it was the heel flap that I was making, and I prefer a little bit more structure on my heels, or at least that's how I've always knit them. So I made this with the slip stitch heel method, and then they did a pretty cool construction. This is a free pattern, by the way, so I'm just going to talk about it. For the heel turn, instead what I typically have done is I'll knit like till there's a certain amount of stitches left, and then I will like knit two together or purl two together, and then like knit one and then turn my work. Whereas here, instead what they had you do was they had you slip a stitch and then knit one and then pull it over in a sense, like as if you were casting off. So you'd slip that slip stitch over the one that you just knit, and that's how you did your decreases. So like that was a little bit different on this side, on these right here. I thought that was kind of cool. I also did not do it correctly, so I had to just add some extra decreases. As you can see, like right here, this is me just adding a few more decreases to get to the right stitch count that I needed to be at. And then I just picked up for the gusset. And when I do my heel flaps, I always do a selvage edge, so that way it's really nice and easy to pick up stitches for me. So I did that, even though the pattern did not say to. Yeah, I am obsessed with these. They're so cute. And then I just continued this motif until end of my foot. And then I think like halfway through the last motif, it might have even been during the last motif, I started my decreases for my toe and then just did Kitchener stitch. And then because my stitch count was off, the first two Kitchener stitches on the toe on like the one side when you first start, the first two I ended up just doing like two together. So typically when you do Kitchener stitch, to start it, you purl through, or like you stick your needle through purlwise on the needle like in front of you, the first needle, and then you stick your needle in knitwise on the needle behind, and like that starts your Kitchener stitch. Where instead of just going through the needle behind just the one stitch, I ended up knitting through two of the stitches on that needle. And I did that twice on the first part, and then I did it twice on the last part, and then that got me to the correct stitch count. Hopefully if you make this pattern, you won't have the issues that I did, and like, even though that sounded so confusing for, I guarantee, everybody, hopefully that you don't have that issue that I did. But I wasn't about to like figure out where I went wrong. So yeah, this is my cute little finished object, and I have been keeping it in this nice little project bag that's very summery. I actually literally just finished it yesterday, so I was blocking it, and that's why it was on this cute little sock blocker. I am very happy with it. I tend to knit my socks, I think, too big, that or I just have large feet, because it still fits, but I'm worried that it will stretch out. Time will tell and we will see. I am hoping to cast on the other one here soon. I will let you know if that gets on the needles. I'm also like scared to do it because I don't want to find out that I don't have enough yarn. I just knit these on, I think this is a 22-inch circular by ChiaoGoo, and it is their interchangeable. So I don't have any fixed by ChiaoGoo, I just have the interchangeables, and I usually just leave them together like this because I have 3 needles and 3 cords. I have 2 2.5 millimeter needles and 1 in a 40-inch cord, or like 38, I don't know, whatever their largest cord is, and then this one, the 22, and then I have a 2.25 millimeter on their largest cord for like the mini size. And that is what I knit my socks, and I like to knit my socks with the Magic Loop method. That is pretty much all that I have for finished objects, which is quite a bit, but I was not expecting to have that at all, and I'm just very glad that I'm working through a lot of the yarns that I have not had any inspiration for. The next section that I have a lot to share about is my whips, which currently I think is really just one project, and it is a crochet project. Here she is. I am planning on making another one of these really cute crochet bags. So I'm pretty sure that this is called the like Starburst stitch, but I am very excited to use up this yarn that I have. All of this is being it's being crocheted with Red Heart Super Saver, which is a bunch of yarn that I have had in my stash forever. It was some of the first yarn that I ever purchased, and yeah, not really great yarn for garment knitting, which is what I really wanted to get into. So I am now turning it into just some fun projects, scrappy projects, things that I really don't need to have on my skin. Yeah, this is how she is gonna go. I'm knitting this with a 5mm needle hook, 5mm hook, and I'm knitting it in, I think the only color I actually know is medium thyme, white, black, and I have no idea what color this is, but it's like a champagne color. Yeah, I have a few of the little centers started, and then here's another one of these. I kind of like to knit them sort of like assembly style, where I'll just knit a few of one and then switch to color when I get bored of it, and then continue that way. I did knit this one in full before starting the other because I wanted to see that the colors were going to work out well, and I'm glad I did, because I originally had this outer edge being like a brown color. Did not just threw that. I did not like the way that that was going to look with these, so I decided against it. And I'm very glad that I did. So I have just been keeping them in this little project bag I made that again has no interfacing, so it likes to just shrink. I think once I get all of the squares made and I'm trying to like stitch it up, I'll probably keep them in this all together. I really love these bags. I have been keeping all of my finished objects in here, as well as the project bag that I'm using. I'll just stick it in here and then leave it in my van when I go to work, and then I'll like work on it during lunch or when I'm waiting for my husband to get off of work, and it's been very nice that way. I still have not weaved in my ends, so yeah, I don't know if you can actually even see, but there are no ends weaved in except for the ones that I crocheted over, which is the nice thing about crochet, is you can just crochet the ends in as you go, rather than like knitting you have to wait till the end, or like sometimes you can do certain things to like weave in ends, which I have thought about, but most of the time I just end up weaving it in at the end. But yeah, that is this project. I have no deadline, not really sure when I want it done. I'm just glad that I'm using up scrap yarn. Again, this is the color palette all together. That's the color palette, and I had to cake these up because they were such honestly ratty skeins. Like, they were coming undone all over. They were like you know when your skein is towards the end of its life and like it's just looking like it's about to become a mess. That's what these were. So I just caked it up on my ball winder, and I have happily been crocheting away with it, which is very nice. That I got that as a gift this year. I have used it so much, and it's funny because every time I pull it out, my husband just looks at me like I'm a kid in a candy store, and sometimes that's how it feels. I genuinely love that. So that is that project, and that's really the only whip that I have. I do have sort of a whip. So this is my start of my swatch for the Lanark sweater by Rebecca Clote from the Crabea Knitting Podcast. So she came out with the Lanark sweater, I want to say like this month for sure. It might have been like 2 or 3 weeks ago when it launched. But I decided to purchase it mostly because I heard a lot of really great things on her podcast when she started sharing about the Lanark sweater and like the experience that her test knitters had. And I loved the way that it came out. I loved all the finished objects, the photos that she took, and I loved the like positive feedback that she got for having it like be adjusted to a men's sizing. So my goal, or what I thought about this, was I want to knit myself one, and then if I like the fabric, if I like the way that it looks, and my husband likes it, then I want to knit him one too. And then that can be our little sweaters. So this is being knit with the leftover yarn that I had from my Lupin sweater. I use this as the color work of the Lupin flower. And this is Lion Brand's 100% recycled polyester. It's respun. This is what it looks like here. And you get a lot of yarn for this. So I had only bought one skein because I was using it for color work, but once I decided that this is what I want to do, I went and picked up 2 more. Because you get, again, like 658 yards or 602 meters per, 10 ounces or 284 grams. So this is a lot of yarn for a really good price, by the way. I think this was like, I think it's $8 full price. I'm knitting this in the color Parchment, and this is the color that I will knit for myself. And then if, again, it turns out well and I like it, I'm probably gonna knit my husband a brown or even a black one. I think that would be cool. But they have so many good colors in this. Like, there's an Alpine color that looks beautiful. Their wine color is so pretty. I bought more of the raisin color of what I knit the actual base of the Lupin sweater because I had leftover of this one, but not enough for a sweater. So I decided to go pick up one more, and then if I really like it, like maybe I'll make another one of these, or I just, again, have this for when I want it. I could probably, gosh, I can knit whatever I want. I have a sweater's quantity of yarn right now, and that's so exciting. But yeah, so a little bit about this pattern. It is all half fisherman's rib or half brioche, and it's a 3/4 zip. So I believe the way that the pattern's constructed, and she's talked about this, so I don't feel bad sharing, is you like make the collar first, and then you do the panels, and then you connect under the arms and knit in the round, and then you pick up for the sleeves, and like then you insert the zip at the end. And I am very excited because I think I'm gonna learn a lot of skills. I already knew brioche before from the Dreo headband that I made around like Thanksgiving, but I don't think, like, I've never done a zip. I've also never done like brioche in a full garment, and this is on 3.5 millimeters. So we will see how this goes, but there's definitely a lot of learning curves going. And I don't know, I'm very excited. I have a lot of inspiration for this. I'm very glad that I decided to just do it. I was gonna wait and get some wool because I really want like the wool sale that's going on right now for Woolly Knits. I really wanted to get some of their 100% British wool, I believe is what it was. I really wanted to get it, especially with the discount code right now, but I decided I'm gonna do this. It's a little bit more affordable for me, and there's nothing wrong with me getting more later when I know I'm gonna be a little bit more like I'll have more in my budget for that in the future. There's nothing wrong with me just knitting with what I have available to me right now. So that's what I'm knitting this with. And this yarn is really great quality. Honestly, I don't find it itchy at all. The Lupin sweater that I have, the only thing that I find itchy about it is the way that I designed the neck. I did a folded neck instead of a turtleneck, so it kind of is really tight right here, and because of how tight it is, it can get itchy, but the rest of it isn't itchy at all. So I'm very excited to use this to wear because I know it's not gonna hurt my skin. It's gonna be fine, and I hope that it's the same for my husband because if he doesn't find this irritating, I'm absolutely gonna knit him a sweater. And I have something to say about the wording of how she did this. So like the wording's fine, it's actually perfect. It's just my understanding was very wrong. When I did my brioche, I don't remember it specifying, but I think it had to have, or I watched a video. But it specified that like you need to have the yarn in front when you're doing the slip stitch of the brioche. I was holding it in back, so when I was first knitting the swatch, I was like, this does not look like brioche. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I re-looked up a video, remembered, okay, like it's written the exact same way in her pattern as it is in this video. Why? I don't know why it didn't click for me that when you slip a stitch purlwise, you should hold the yarn in front versus in back. Maybe that's a universal thing, maybe it's not, maybe it should be specified, I have no idea. But like, it's fine, because this obviously looks like brioche now. I also love the squish factor of brioche, like it's such a squishy, it's such a squishy fabric, and I love it. But yeah, this will be my Lanark sweater. Hopefully the color will be fine on my skin. I can't really tell, but I don't know. I know sometimes like color, it really depends what color you get. Maybe you guys are more informative than I am on color, but hopefully it'll be fine. If it's not, I can gift it, maybe. Or I'll just have it sit in my closet and be sad that I chose this color. But I wanted something a little bit more neutral, and I had it, so I was like, okay, I'll just get more. So that's what I have for that. And that's really the only whip that I have actually planned right now. The cardigan that I was designing, I still haven't frogged back and like redone, but I'm not pressuring myself to. I am gonna knit and crochet whatever I'm inspired to at the moment, and if I'm not inspired to work on a design, then I am not gonna work on it. I do want to share some acquisitions that I got because I was not expecting to have any, but I did end up getting some. The first one is, I guess technically these. I bought some more for the Lanark sweater, and then I bought another skein of this raisin because I had a full skein and like probably half a skein between the other two yarn that I have. So I decided to buy one more so that way I have a sweater's quantity worth. And I can just be inspired to knit whatever I want, whether it's a Lanark sweater or a different sweater, like whatever I want. I have a sweater's quantity worth in a color that I like and in a yarn that I like. So I picked that up, and I don't know if I said this, I'm literally all over the place. because I already filmed this part and then realized that my card was full, so now I'm refilming. So if I'm a little bit scrambled, that's the reason. That's also in case the lighting changed a little bit ago. That's the reason. But yeah, this is in the color Raisin. It's this really pretty purple. I love this color. This is really great yarn. I've enjoyed it. Okay, the next thing is I bought another skein of Knit and Crochet's hand-dyed superwash merino. So this is their sock yarn, and it is 75% superwash and 25% polyamide. And you get about 450 meters per 100 grams, so very standard. And it's this very pretty lavender color. I love it. I love purples. And I'm planning on holding it with my leftover Hobby Diablo mohair yarn. This is 40% acrylic, 30% mohair, and 30% polyamide. I'm going to knit these two together. Okay. I want to knit them together because I heard from Inga in Knitting Traditions. She tends to knit her socks with silk mohair because it adds extra strength and coziness to her socks. And I want to use up my mohair, but I'm not really sure what I will use it with. But I saw this in the store and I was like, that's pretty good. So I'm going to hold these together and knit. I'll insert here. This really cute like lavender colored spring sock. I think that's so cute and I really want to knit it. So I got this to knit with this. And yeah, so the yarn that Inga typically uses is a silk mohair. This is not a silk mohair, so I don't know if it's gonna have the same effect because I know the silk is one of the things that's super strong and sturdy about like what she adds to her socks. So I don't know if this will just make them way too warm or like be a bad idea. We will have to see, but I am planning on trying it. And I will let you guys know if it was a good idea or a bad idea to hold this with mohair, because I have a feeling I will knit these up pretty quickly since I tend to really love to knit socks lately. The last thing that I got is some more sock yarn, and I saw these and was very intrigued. So this is a 56% cotton, 35% acrylic, and 9% polyamide. And it is Big Twist, I believe, yeah, Vista, and this is the colorway Tide Pool. This has so many pretty oranges and like soft summer warm tones. And then this is the same thing, but this is in the colorway Sage. And again, like really pretty greens. It's definitely, this one has a little bit more cool tones, but there's still some warm tones in there with this right here. I believe it's going to be self-striping, pretty obvious, but I think that they're going to be a little bit thicker stripes, which I'm already hesitant about because of the one pair of socks that I made that were self-striping. I didn't like how thick those were, and those weren't even that thick, so we will see. This has a lot of yarn per yardage. You get 705 yards for 5.3 ounces and 645 meters for 150 grams. So you get quite a bit of yarn. Like I can easily get 2 pairs of socks out of these. This one I'm pretty sure I'm gonna knit and gift because the person I am thinking of likes orange, and like I like this colorway, but orange really isn't like my first pick. And this one I thought was cool because I don't have any greens, and this was just so pretty. I really wanted to try it. Look how nicely they did that for us. Like, don't you love when the center pole is just right there and ready? Beautiful. I am curious because I have not knit cotton socks, but obviously like that's what I think this was intending. It is pretty interesting because it says you can knit like 2 sweaters, or you can knit a sweater with 2 skeins of this, which I don't know how true that is, but that's kind of cool if you can. I don't know how good cotton socks are, but I'm curious to find out because I know like they are a type of yarn that you can use for socks. But what is a little bit concerning is the acrylic content, because I've heard acrylic is not great for socks, just because it can be it can make your feet very sweaty and overly warm. But I'm hoping that because that this is mostly cotton, that it won't have that effect. It is soft, like it feels like cotton. Polyamide also will help make sure that there's some stretch in there, so I'm curious to see how these will work and if it's good sock yarn. If it is, I really hope Joanne keeps it. I know they tend to like try out different yarns all the time, so you really just have to like get it as it is and hope for the best. Because I mean, I haven't seen the Spice yarn that I made these in forever. Not that that was great yarn anyway. I'm very excited to knit with these. That is all that I have. Again, I don't know. This podcast was kind of full. I definitely had a lot going on this last week. But we'll see what happens next week because I will be gone in Arizona, so I won't be filming and I don't think I'll be posting. I'm hoping to have my podcasts edited and ready so that way it posts and I just schedule it to be released public. But I don't know. I didn't have any excuses for why I didn't have a video last week, so it just really happens to be if I feel like editing or not. I'm hoping that I will because I really want to get them out and ready, and I really want to keep on my little YouTube schedule of having a video a week, just because I enjoy podcasts that are weekly, so I think others would too. I am thinking of possibly starting like a travel shawl. I really like the shawl by Stephen West, the Shawlology one, I think is what it's called. I really like that pattern, and I'm not really a shawl person, but like that shawl kind of makes me want to knit one. But I feel like I get a little bit overwhelmed in trying to pick colors for a shawl and like color palettes. So what I thought was maybe what I'll do is like pick up a skein from a local shop, yarn store, of like wherever I go, because my husband and I do plan to travel quite frequently. Well, not like crazy frequently. Like we want to go on like 2 to 4 trips a year, like one large one and then a few weekend ones. And this Arizona one is a weekend one for us, and I was thinking that it'd be kind of cool to like pick up a skein at a local store there, and then in the future other places also do the same, pick up a skein, and then I'll make like a pretty shawl with the skeins that I bought from the like 4 trips that we went on that year or something. I don't know if that will come to or not. I probably still will buy yarn if he has the patience to let me go to a yarn store. But at the same time, I have lots of yarn and I have not enough time to knit everything that I want to. So we will see how that goes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do leave me a like and a comment. Let me know if you have seen the Lanark sweater and if that's something that you've thought about, or if brioche is kind of intimidating to knit an entire sweater with. I know I'm definitely like on the fence of like, is this gonna be a sweater that takes me 6 months to make? We will see. With that being said, again, I hope you have a great time knitting whatever you are knitting, crocheting whatever you're crocheting, whatever you are doing in your free time. I really hope you are enjoying it, and I hope you have a great week. I hope the weather is treating you well. We are so close to having spring around the corner. So anyway, I will see you on the next one. Go make something joyful. Bye!